On the Sloviansk direction, the armed forces of Ukraine stopped the largest motorcycle assault by Russian occupiers since the beginning of the year, according to the 7th Rapid Response Corps of the Ukrainian Air Assault Forces. Sloviansk is part of a unique fortress belt that has held back Russian forces since 2014. Paratroopers eliminated enemy infantry that dismounted from their vehicles. The attackers deployed 16 motorcycles, operating in several groups of 3 to 4 vehicles, attempting to break through Ukrainian positions. Thanks to timely detection and coordinated action, the assault was stopped and Ukrainian troops eliminated the dismounted enemy infantry. Russia is constantly moving resources and attempting to seize advantageous positions on the Sloviansk front. To hinder Ukrainian operations, they try to control key logistical routes using remote-controlled mines and drones. Despite this pressure, troops of the 81st Brigade of the 7th Corps continue to detect and destroy Russian forces, Ukrainian paratroopers stressed. Earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he was surprised that anyone believes the war would end if Kyiv withdrew from Donbas. If their goal is only Donbas, then why do they say they will go further? And then there will be other conditions. In my view, the issue is not Donbas after all, he said, stating that Moscow's ambitions extend beyond eastern Ukraine. He criticized claims that the conflict could be resolved simply by Kyiv ceding territory in eastern Ukraine. Russians attempted to advance near Vovchansk to widen their bridgehead and consolidate it. However, what followed was a quick Ukrainian counterattack right into the Russian flank, decapitating the Russian advance before it gained momentum. Ukrainian forces collapsed the Russian flank by mounting a successful counterattack west of Vovchansk, pushing back the Russians approximately 3 kilometers, or more than 1/3 of the 8 kilometers Russia managed to advance from the border in 2 years. The Ukrainian counterattack was preceded by Russian assaults in Vovchansk, where they attempted to break through the defenses, trying to take the remaining parts of the town under their control. Neighboring Russian units were also mounting assaults east of Vovchansk towards Vovchansky Kuturi and Zybin. Simultaneously, the Russians actively tried to infiltrate southwest of Vovchansk through the forest into Huravska and amass enough forces for further advance. As a result of this, the Russians managed to expand the gray zone near Sinelnikove and Vilcha, which are the next settlements south of Vovchansk, although these villages remain contested as Ukrainian forces are still present there. The Russians have multiple advantages in this sector, with their best drone unit, Rubicon, which was disrupting the Ukrainian logistics to Vovchansk, making it difficult to maintain the defense of the town and the surrounding area. Russian drone operators also targeted their Ukrainian counterparts to prevent them from effectively supporting the infantry forces, which suffer from the lack of well-prepared fortifications in this sector, as they could not be constructed so close to the border. As a result, Ukrainian forces had to rely on defending settlements, which are also difficult to hold due to their size and proximity to the border. Moreover, dense local forests favored the Russian infiltration tactics because they provided good cover. But despite these advantages, the Russian attacks failed because they didn't have sufficient forces in this sector to exploit the advantage. With approximately 8,000 soldiers, the Russian command was unable to maintain the high attrition rate of the infiltration tactics. If we take a look at the topographic map, we can see how Ukrainian forces used their advantage by utilizing the high ground to provide precise mortar and artillery cover for their advancing forces. The Ukrainians were also exploiting the dense forest areas as cover to advance deep into Russia's flank and regain control over Prilipka. This allowed them to advance further along the Siversky Donetsk River towards Sinelnikova. At the same time, other units pushed forward along the second attack vector from the other side to clear Lyman and Sahelny from Russian infiltrators. The idea was to encircle the remaining Russian units inside the forested area and eliminate their bridgehead over the river. As a result of the counterattack, the Ukrainian armed forces regained approximately 15 square kilometers, while clearing operations are ongoing east of the forest. To counter this development, a Russian assault group was sent to infiltrate Prilipka, as confirmed by geolocated footage from the area. Unfortunately for the Russians, a heavy Baba Yaga bomber drone of Ukraine's Achilles Brigade patrolled the area with a thermal camera and spotted them. The Russians were subsequently struck with drone-dropped grenades, which to counter this development, a Russian assault group was sent to infiltrate Prilipka, as confirmed by geolocated footage from the area. Unfortunately for the Russians, a heavy Baba Yaga bomber drone of Ukraine's Achilles Brigade patrolled the area with a thermal camera and spotted them. The Russians were subsequently struck with drone-dropped grenades, which prompted them to immediately stop their assault and surrender, with 4 soldiers emerging one by one with their hands raised, confirming their helpless situation after the Ukrainians collapsed Russia's flank. These regained positions will allow the Ukrainians to advance further inside the forest, consolidating them and using it as cover against Russian drone activity. At the same time, the river gives them protection from the flank to move further north and clear the remaining enemy positions. This will also allow the Ukrainians to fully clear the villages south of Vovchansk and deny the opportunity for the Russians to infiltrate and gather forces for a larger push southward. Overall, Russian forces tried to expand their presence near Vovchansk but overstretched themselves, which allowed the Ukrainians to collapse their flank. This sector is currently not regarded as a priority by the Russian command, which means Ukraine can exploit the lack of reinforcement. Combined with the quick collapse, this nullifies all their efforts in the last week, turning things back to the initial stage. Without a sufficient number of forces redirected to support these efforts, the front line here will remain static with 0 Russian chances of nearing Kharkiv.